Hi everyone, thanks for being here. I'm going to play a video for you in a moment in relation to a conversation Pauline Hanson has had on Sky News. Now, I posted a couple of days ago that I thought Pauline Hanson was on the outer simply because she had bungled a conversation that she had with Sky News last week. However, that isn't the case. They've brought her back again and again. Now, Pauline Hanson reminds me a little bit of, I guess, our version of Donald Trump. Someone who's totally ill-informed, who doesn't understand the issues as they stand, who doesn't care about the way people think and their motivations for behaving the way that they do, and particularly their motivation to not vote for the Liberal Party and this magnificent and wonderful and crazy mandate that the Labor Party tend to have found themselves in right at this moment. But she doesn't like that, because she, I think, would prefer the first past the post system, which doesn't give anybody who doesn't vote for the party that comes in first, doesn't give them an option in terms of who they would like to govern them. Our system does. It's a good system, probably one of the best in the world, but not for Pauline, because she believes they don't have a mandate. But Pauline also believes, and this confuses me, Pauline also believes that the mostly emissions come from volcanoes, from the soil, and from the oceans. So human beings don't contribute, in Pauline's mind, much about climate change. In fact, Pauline believes that all the scientists, everybody who supports climate change should actually, I don't know, just disappear, I guess, to vanish into the ether, to just not be relevant. So we shouldn't rely on science. Another Trumpian thing, I think. Pauline also has this view that the world would be the world, and particularly Australia, contributes so little in terms of emissions that it doesn't really matter. And this concerns me as well, because it's very much like saying, because all these kids and women and men are being killed in Gaza, that because it's 12,000 kilometres away, we should not worry about it. It should not concern us. If it's not happening in our specific backyard, then it shouldn't matter to anybody. So Pauline's view, like Trump, is very constrained. It's restricted to just this very small mental capacity that she has to absorb any information whatsoever and to try and rationalise whatever small amount of information she has gathered. And here she's trying to talk to Sky News about net zero, because this now is her focus. Her and Barnaby Joyce are focused on net zero because that's the most important thing for them in the whole world, regardless of everything else, because net zero and working towards a zero emissions is an important aspect of the economy, because she believes it's destroying the economy. Now, she also makes these statements without any foundation of truth whatsoever. It's just a brain fart that she has, and that's it. And we really do need to hold people like Pauline and those people like Barnaby Joyce to account. And we must acknowledge that there are people on the right of politics who do see this as a problem and are prepared to work towards decreasing our emissions so that we can at least save the planet for our children and our grandchildren. But here is Pauline talking about this very subject.
The United States are not signed up to it, and we're selling our raw materials to them, buying back this, and they're growing their economies, and we're destroying ours.
Well, when you look at the House of Reps, though, and the recent election, it looks like quite an endorsement of the government's approach on energy and on climate.
Sorry, disagree with you, because it wasn't the whole thing. They got 35% of the vote. 65% of the populace didn't vote for them. It's only the preference system is why they won the seats.
And this is the point that amazes me, is how can someone who's been in Parliament for 35 years start to question the preferential voting system? It's ignorance at its most transparent, I reckon. And to argue that, it's 35% of the people voted for, if we had a first past the post system, 35% of people. The rest of the people don't matter anymore, according to Pauline. But it doesn't alter the fact that the government holds an enormous majority, which means that the majority of the people support what the government is planning to do. Now, you might disagree with them, Pauline does, but her figures and the way she logically thinks about this is quite simply bizarre, to say the least.
So just because all these issues come up, they don't have a mandate. Sorry. No, they don't. On 35%, they haven't got a mandate. And the public have been misled and lied to with all this. They've been lied to about the nuclear as well. The coalition was slack. They didn't know how to counteract that. They have said it was going to cost $600 billion. It wasn't going to cost $600 billion. So there has not been a good campaign to push back on the lies from the Labor. So I'm sorry, they don't have a mandate.
Do you believe that there is a large chunk of the electorate that does want action on climate change?
You have to understand climate change cannot just come about by our emissions. The populace put out 3% of the 100% of emissions, right? Carbon emissions. You cannot change emissions. 97% comes from the oceans, volcanoes, the soil, everything else. We cannot. You don't tax people and drive them into the ground with the cost of living on.
Well, the actual reality is that is bullshit. And this is, there was some pushback, and, I need to accept that Sky News did push back against her a little bit, but at the end of the day, why do they have Pauline Hanson on? Because she appeals to certain aspects of their base, and they must flog that as best as they can. In fact, a little bit of research will tell you that volcanoes, the ocean, and soil all release greenhouse gases as part of their natural cycles. But human activity releases significant more CO2 than these natural sources. While volcanoes contribute a small fraction, around 1 to 3%, to global greenhouse gas emissions, the ocean absorbs a large portion of human-caused CO2 emissions. Soil plays a dual role, acting as both a source and a sink of CO2, with the balance shifting based on land management and other factors. And of course, the land management, in that sense, is, let's not cut down our trees, let's put more trees up. It's that simple. But people like Pauline, very little intelligence, unfortunately. I mean, it would be, if Pauline may have substantial arguments if she listened to those people who are anti-climate change and has a look, I guess, at some of the data that they're presenting. Now, they're in a minority, and there are a lot of people who would disagree with them, but nevertheless, there is an argument, and the fact that we're, a small country and we contribute 3% to climate change, but there again, making green steel and sending that to China and being responsible in that sense, I think is a really good thing. So there are things that we could do. There are also things we can do in terms of developing the science around how to manage this problem and sell that to the rest of the world. I think that's a valuable contribution, as opposed to burying our head in the sand and being like Pauline Hanson is and saying that it doesn't matter, because I don't think Pauline gives a rat's ass about how her children and their children are going to be able to survive this planet in years to come. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to my channel, ring the bell, do all you need to do. I'd love to hear from you. And just remember also that subscribing to my channel doesn't cost you a thing. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and more importantly, be safe.